Welcome to the show, guys. Happy Hump Day Wednesday here in the studio with Jim, aka the Maverick, and we are talking about players that could or maybe could not bounce back for fantasy football 2024. Jim, are you excited to get into bounce back players?
Yes, absolutely, counselor. I'm excited to talk about it. Let's see if these guys, because I saw your list. I gotta say, I'm not in agreement with some of these names you got out there. So I hope you're ready to defend yourself.
Well, that's the thing, right? So when we're looking at these lists, this particular list, the top 10 bounce backs, it doesn't mean they're actually going to bounce back. So I want to get some clarification here and a disclaimer here. It doesn't mean they're necessarily going to bounce back, but they're a bounce back candidate as a potential bounce back. And that's what makes this.
So it's bounce back with a question mark. Bounce back?
Yeah. Bounce back? Yes. Are they going to bounce back? We want to make this interactive. So in the comments below, let us know, will these players bounce back? In your opinion, will let us know our opinion. So it's not just like a direct, we think that these guys are going to bounce back. Some of them, yes, but some of them, probably not. So, guys, if you're new to the channel, smash it, tap it, slap it, grab the 16-round draft solution. I've linked it below. Sleepers, breakouts, optimal players draft each round. Everything you need to crush your leagues, guys. It'll put you light years ahead of the sheep, aka the Kinsheepsis. It's going to be wild, man. It's going to be a wild year, and I want to make sure you guys have as close to an ironclad roster as possible. Grab 16 rounds. I've linked it below. And grab a ticket to the summit. Jim, I'm just working on lining up. I don't know if you know this, but I'm working on lining up the preliminary interviews with the players that are coming to the summit. So I'm looking to get Trey Benson, Tajay Spears on the show, Kyron Williams, Rashid on the show the next week or two. That's going to be a lot of fun. So if you guys are new to the channel, again, hit the thumbs up, turn on the bell. We're going to get some NFL athletes. I don't think any other channels are providing that. So that's a cool perk of following the channel, along with, great personalities, of course, tooting our own horn here. And of course, actual advice that's going to help you win. So I'm excited about the season, Jim. I'm excited about bounce backs. I'm excited about everything, man. It's going to be a big season.
Yeah, I'm excited too, counselor. We're right at it. Training camp opens like next week. This is great.
I'm hearing here, I got to go a little bit on the breaking news. We're going to bring in Breaking Brad. Breaking Brad, give us your line.
We now have breaking news.
I love that guy. I just want to talk a little bit really quickly here. I just read this note right here. Before we started the show, I'm reading this as pretty much I'm going here. Buffalo Bills wide receiver Curtis Samuel likely will be used in multiple ways in the offensive scheme this season. According to offensive coordinator Joe Brady, he can play on the outside or on the inside. We can move him around as fast as it can be. Just get him the ball in his hands and good things can happen. Whether it's playing receiver or running back, it really doesn't matter. It's just about his versatility, and it'll be an asset to our offense, Brady said. So again, going back to what I've been telling you, Keon is the one. This guy's a gadget player. But again, this is the big debate that people say to me, oh, I don't like Keon. Curtis Samuel's the one there. Dude, No.
Curtis Samuel's not a 1. He's at best, he's a 3. At best. That's what he's always been. His been in the league for 8 seasons. 8.
Yeah.
We know what Curtis Samuel is.
Yeah, you actually ended up freezing there because it was so exciting there with all the energy there, I guess. Yeah, Curtis Samuel, not worth the pick. Years to wow us, guys. And guess what? We're not wowed. Other things here I really want to talk about. Again, T. Higgins did not agree to a long-term extension with the Bengals by deadline July 15th and will play one more year under franchise tag. Poor T. Higgins. Are you feeling a little bad for T. Higgins, Jim?
No, I mean, he wants his money. I get it. And I just don't think that they have the money. The Bengals had the money to give him. So I think he's going to be playing somewhere else next year.
Josh Palmer is poised for a career year, apparently people are saying.
No.
Josh Palmer, again, come on.
No, come on. We know who these players are. I mean, geez, give me a break.
And that's the thing. Like, all these things come out of it, these players, like, oh, Curtis Samuel's the one to dude, like, just go take a look at their stats. Go take a look at their history. If you've had years to wow us and you're not wow, there isn't something that's going to come in. Like, for me, for example, I'm not a running back. I'm not a wide receiver. I'm not a very good football player, right? If I stepped on the field and all these guys, this Joe guy, he was the counselor. He's going to come in. And also Jim, the co-host is going to come in and one's going to play the X receiver. The other guy's going to play running back. Years to wow us, Jim, and we haven't wowed anybody when it comes to real football talent. So, why expect anything different? That's how I look at it, Jim. That's how I view these players that sucked for years. It's that
Yeah,
simple.
if it's just if you're just playing me, I would just bet on injuries, man. That's what's going to happen. It'll be pretty quick.
Well, what if we put you behind the best O-line in the league and we got you all geared up and gave you 6 months full training, Jim? How about 6 months of strength training? And I think you'd make it out a few games.
Why would you do that to an old man? That's not nice. Come on. I mean, you want me to go out there and get destroyed by 22-year-olds? No, thank you. No, thank you.
You can play the complimentary back. You'll play the change of pace running back, Jim. The only pace that'll be changing will be you slowing down everything. That's it.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where I won't even hit the hole. I'll just collapse onto the ground and cover my head,
Yeah, you'll redefine change of pace running back for sure. All right, let's go on here, guys. Again, make sure you grab that 16-round draft solution. Let's start off with your guy here, Jamar Chase. What's the deal with Jamar Chase? Bounce back this year? I would say potentially, yes.
Oh yeah, I mean, we know. I mean, again, we know who Josh Palmer is. We know who Curtis Samuel is. And we also know who Jamar Chase is. This guy, top level talent, had a very bad season last year. Not entirely his fault. He missed time due to injury. His quarterback missed time due to injury, Joe Burrow. And, he is, I think that, as far as upside goes with like the top 5 wide receivers, Jamar Chase has the ability to be the number one. He has the ability to be the number one wide receiver in fantasy football this year. I still believe in him. It is a contract year for him. I've got him labeled as a bounce back in the 16 rounds plus app. There's no doubt as to who the number one receiver is on this team. It is Jamar Chase. He's going to come back very strongly this year, and everybody will be very happy to draft him.
Biggest question, Joe Burrow, he played like 11 games last year, something like that. He's got to finish the season. He's got to play. He's got to finish the season. He was out modeling. I don't know whether modeling. I mean, we've seen Christian McCaffrey model. He's done well years after that. But I just all these little distractions that kind of bother me with certain players. But it is off season. They got to make a little bit of money in the off season as well. So I'm hoping it works out finally for Jamar Chase because the talent is there. But he needs a healthy Burrow the entire season. They need to stay consistent. And I don't know about their running back situation. Again, we talked about is Moss going to be the man? Again, years to wow us, we're not wowed. Is he going to step in? That's the big question mark here. We don't know. That's the big thing.
Yeah, and if it's not a good running game, that means you're going to have to pass the ball more. Who does that benefit?
Jamar Chase.
Exactly.
So, bounce back it could be. Next guy here, Saquon Barkley. Obviously, round 1 to 2 ADP. I'm all in on Barkley. Now, this is going to be the last year. I mean, I'm out of excuses. The big thing with Barkley was, again, he had his good rookie season. He did well. I think that was the same year CMC did well. I think their rookie seasons or whatever it was years ago, 2018, 19, whatever it was. And then after that, it's just been kind of mediocre plays. Had some flashes of explosiveness throughout the seasons. But again, the big excuse was these guys don't have any receivers, stack boxes, terrible offense, Daniel Jones getting hurt, Daniel Jones not being good. It was all these excuses. Now he goes into a situation where no competition at running back. You do have a quarterback that's going to steal some goal line work. We understand that. But I think they really brought him in to take away some of that goal line work, minus that tush push. Kelsey's gone now. Less tush push, more Saquon Barkley near the goal line. I'm looking at a 12 touchdown floor here. Easily 1,000-yard rushing season, 250 plus attempts, like absolute easy. And again, the only point of reference I have here, Jim, maybe you can agree here, is that DeAndre Swift, who sucked for years, couldn't finish a season, actually finished a season. So if he could do it, Saquon Barkley has to do it. I think we're really done with excuses here with Saquon Barkley, Jim, I would say.
Yeah, and the guy is also 27 years old, so we're talking about somebody who is moving into the twilight years of his career. Certainly, this is by far and away the best team situation he has ever had in his entire career.
Yeah.
And that's going to work to his advantage. Right now, Vegas has his line at about 1,125 rushing yards with 7.5 touchdowns. And that's the big thing. That's one of the reasons why I do like Barkley. But I don't like to draft running backs that play with a rushing quarterback like Jalen Hurts. And it's just because Hurts steals all the goal line work. He got 15 rushing touchdowns last year. Now, will that come back? Probably. Will Saquon get more than Swift did? Probably. Yeah. But, when you talk about the value of running backs, It's basically goal line work and receiving work. And if the goal line work, if half of it's taken away, that's a huge hit to a running back's value. So I'm really not, I don't know if I've even drafted Saquon this year. I don't think I have. I maybe have him in one or two of my best ball leagues. But it's just because of that. I'm just not interested in a player that's going to be capped like that. So, but still, Swift did pretty good last year in his role. He
Yeah.
got like I don't have it in front of me, but like 1,600 scrimmage yards or something like that. I could certainly see Saquon doing that or better. But it's just his touchdowns are going to be capped, and I don't like that.
Yeah, Swift finished around 20th last year, 1,049 yards rushing, 4.6 yards per carry. That's DeAndre Swift, and he still managed to get like 5 touchdowns. So again, that's DeAndre Swift. So I'm seeing a major thing. Again, what you're not talking about again is there's no committee there. There's zero. He's the guy. And
No, the committee is Jalen Hurts.
Nah,
That's
but
the committee.
you just can't get away from that. Everybody's got either a rushing quarterback or a major committee where they're doing a split. Even a guy like Jahmyr Gibbs is now contending with Montgomery. Yes, he's got Goff, right? There's always going to be some sort of pest, unless you're by Jan and Algier. I think he's in a great situation. Algier isn't a big concern to me as much. So you're going to get it everywhere. And at least that Hurts coming off this pinnacle year decline is definitely coming at the goal line. Tush push is going to come down and Saquon's going to rise. It's going to be a good year. And where you're drafting them too is like, what are the other options early second round? I mean, there's tons of good options, but you got to look at, there's a lot of wide receivers coming off just a little bit after, like guys like Nico Collins, stuff like that. So I'd rather have the security of Saquon over a wide receiver, potentially a 3 on their team. So I like where he's coming off too. Your next guy here, Travis Kelce. I think you're a little biased here because you're a Chiefs fan. I don't know. I mean, I guess you're getting him at his discount, right? Like around 3 to 4.
Yeah, I mean that's the big reason is we're able to get Kelce cheaper than we have in years. He's always been a first round, early second round pick every single year. Now you can get him. I mean, I've seen him in best ball anyway, going off in like the 4th round. He's going off earlier in managed leagues, but I mean, we know that Kelce is the number 1 receiver for Patrick Mahomes. And last year, both those guys were off a little bit. In fact, I'd say both Mahomes and Kelce are bounce back candidates. I got them marked as bounce backs in my app. But you take the value. Unfortunately, the tight end position is a very low scoring position. It's a very low volume position. And to have somebody that can get the volume last year, 121 targets. That's really good for a tight end. Tight ends usually don't get that much. And the fact that he can, maybe they just be a little bit more efficient around the goal line and get a few more touchdowns. Last year, he only got 5. I like I said, I think there is upside at where he's being drafted. And I think you're going to be happy if you take him as your elite tight end.
Yeah, he's still the one. I just think there's more competition there. Pacheco's going to be consistent. They got Hollywood Brown is going to get some work. Rashee Rice when he comes back, and then you got Xavier Worthy. But still, I mean, Travis Kelce is going to be the go-to guy. He's going to be consistent. I think he's a good deal, bouncing back from last year. Or that could have been his start of his decline off the cliff, and they just keeps falling down after that, and other people step up. So it's going to be one or two ways, really.
Could be what happens, but don't forget, Kelce's brother is 2 years older than him and was playing in the NFL at a high level last year. So I think genetically he's got a predisposition to be able to withstand another season or two and still playing at peak performance levels. So I think again, I think he's a great choice, and I like him more than Laporta or Trey McBride, because those guys aren't the ones. Those guys aren't even the number 1 receivers on their team, but Kelce is.
It's a good point. It's a good point.
Yeah.
And you're paying more for Laporta as well. So that's expensive.
Yeah.
All right. Next guy here. I'm all in on him. Justin Herbert this year. And you know what? He doesn't have to necessarily even be your, quarterback one. He could be. I got him around 7. I think he comes off a little later, give or take, right? Around.
Yeah. He's where's he going for quarterbacks? Hold on here.
You play a lot more best ball than me, but I got him around 7, give or take. Now, I think he could come off a little bit later. But I love Justin Herbert, Jim. I think he's going to have a great year. He had a down year last year. This was not your typical Justin Herbert, okay? He was force feeding Keenan Allen, which was crazy. Keenan Allen was completely over the hill. I mean, it was time for him to spread the ball out. They had their first round draft pick, Quentin Johnson. It's either Quentin Johnson sucks or they literally didn't like him. But I do like the addition of Lad McConkey, more check downs. He's going to be great. They got Brendan Rice in there. Could be something, could not be something. Josh Palmer has to step up this year. There's a lot of things that have to happen, but I think he has a great, amazing year this year. He has to step up. He has to bounce back. Last year's numbers were terrible. I mean, where did he finish? 17th amongst quarterbacks, 20 touchdowns. Like, come on, man. This guy is a 40 touchdown a season type guy. I mean, look at how he did earlier in his career. Okay. So I don't know. No way but up. 20 touchdowns is just unacceptable for a guy with his caliber. He's going to come up, Jim. That's it.
Yeah, I mean, Justin Herbert is currently going off as the QB 14, which I think is pretty fair value for him. I like drafting him as a QB 2. I think he's a decent option. I would not want him as my primary quarterback. But the issue is that how good is the team around him? And I'm very concerned about this receiver core. Now, I like Lad McConkey. I think he's going to be great slot receiver. He's going to get a ton of targets. If he takes that Keenan Allen role, that is going to be gold. But you're talking Quentin Johnson and Joshua Palmer as the outside guys. And then you got Gus Edwards in the backfield. I mean, Gus Edwards doesn't catch passes. So, how's that going to work out? And so he's just had a real, degradation of talent around him. Now, I do believe in the coach. I think he's a fantastic coach. But they've said for a long time, this is going to be a run first team, run first. And so it's like, okay, I think that might cap his value. Again, I like him as a 2, but I don't think he's anything more than a 2, truthfully. So
no, yeah, but Herbert, Harbaugh is going to do some good things, I think, in this offense.
Yeah.
I still think they're going to have to throw the ball. And at the end of the day, if you have McConkey, short passes, check downs, run the ball to Gus, throw it to McConkey. McConkey's going to be there to replace Austin Eckler, but you got so many voided targets with Keenan Allen gone and Eckler gone and Mike Williams gone. And I don't think that you're necessarily degrading the targets because Mike Williams never stayed on the field and Keenan Allen was kind of over the hill. So, I mean, yeah, that consistent Keenan Allen rapport, but I think that could be easily supplemented. So it'll be interesting. I just don't know why they didn't address the running back position. I don't think Gus is the solution. Kamani Vidal could be something. It could be, or it could be just the Deuce Vaughn of last year, right? Like, we don't know.
Yeah, well, he's a 5th or 6th round pick. I'm not sure there's anything there with Kamani, but by the way, I've been drafting a ton of Gus Edwards. I'm just like grabbing him in just about every draft I'm doing, just because he's so cheap on the board. And if he is the one on that team, dude's going to be valuable. He's going to have value. So, and I don't believe in J.K. Dobbins. I think J.K. Dobbins is done as far as his career goes with that Achilles tear. We've never seen running backs come back from an Achilles tear and look the same. They just don't. And so
coming back from what? The bench? I mean, he's never played a game in his life. Like, has he, JK? What is JK Dobbins?
Yeah. I mean, he was the starter when he's healthy, but the problem is he can't ever stay healthy. And he had that devastating Achilles injury last season. So it's like, this dude is done. I can't believe it when they signed him. But you look at that backfield, I'm like, yeah, I'm going to take all the shares of Gus Edwards I can. So
all right, Kim, moving on from Justin Herbert. This guy, you're saying bounce back. I mean, what's he bouncing back from? He's only ever played 4 games. But Anthony Richardson, what's the thought process here?
Well, I'm the more I think about it, the more I'm excited about Anthony Richardson and what he represents. This dude is a freak of nature, and he's coming in this season at 255 pounds, a rushing quarterback. I'm like dizzy with the possibilities. And I know a lot of people are because he's going off as the QB 6. But how are you going to tackle him? How are you going to tackle this guy? I mean, I don't know if you remember watching Cam Newton back in the day, but the dude just shook off tackles because he was so big. And I mean, I'm trying to think. I don't know how big Derrick Henry is, but it seems like he's about Derrick Henry size. And, we know how hard that guy is to tackle. The possibilities here of him just being the overall QB1 this year are very plausible. Now I have him listed as a risky pick in the app, but and he's coming back from that shoulder injury. I think he's going to be fine for the start of camp. Um, but I mean, again, if when you're playing fantasy football, you're playing to win. You're playing for those high upside guys. Anthony Richardson is the perfect representation of a guy that has this massive upside. Pretty decent team around him. Pretty good offensive pieces around him.
Yep.
This guy can score a lot of points, and we saw it in his limited work last year. He just needs to protect himself and not get hurt. So, but
yeah, I mean, bouncing back to kind of what he was showing in the little window we saw, which was going to be a strong, rushing, capable quarterback. I don't trust him. I definitely see some upside here, but similar to guys like or any rookie coming in for that matter, like Jaden Daniels, you are taking a risk. I look at him as like a rookie quarterback, and to draft a guy like that in the 4th round, major risk for Richardson, in my opinion. Upside, but major risk. Give me someone who's a little more secure. Next guy here, again, when I sent you the list yesterday, you're like, why is this guy on this list? Cooper Kupp, okay, round 3 ADP, bounced back to the year where he had that astronomical year where everybody loved him, and the year after to draft him in the first round, they avoid him, coming off a pinnacle year. Is he going to bounce back to that? Absolutely not. That's just not going to happen. He's 3 or 4 years older. Puka Nacua has stepped up, but playing 10, 11 games last year, 12, whatever it was, he can bounce back to a form that's going to really dip into Puka Nacua value, where he has a chance to still be the one. I don't think it's completely game over for Cooper Kupp. And you're talking about a guy who's not a Cooper Kupp fan, who was the only one going against the grain, telling you not to draft Cooper Kupp when everyone's telling you to draft Cooper Kupp. So again, 3rd round is very expensive as well. So are you, like, by drafting him in the 3rd round, which is where everybody's telling you, you're basically saying he's the wide receiver 1. That's what you're basically telling, because an early draft capital in the 1st, 2nd, or 3rd round, that's wide receiver 1 territory. You have to have a wide receiver 1. You don't draft a wide receiver 2 in rounds 2 to 3. You just don't do it. Higgs is an example of that. So by drafting this guy this year, you're saying, yes, everybody's saying he's going to bounce back because he's that early to cap. It's ridiculous. I don't like the thought process of this, Jim. I don't like where he's sitting right now. It's crazy.
Yeah, I don't get it. The dude is 31 years old. He's only played 20 games over the past 2 seasons. And when he's played, he's looked good. I mean, I'm not going to deny that. But he's now at age 31. He's also playing with an aging quarterback. Stafford is 37, and that's usually past the time that quarterbacks hit that wall. And so I'm not seeing it. I've got him listed as a risky pick in the app. But I've got 0 shares of Cooper Kupp. I'm really not interested at all because of the risks associated with his age, his injury history, and his quarterback. So I'm pretty much just completely steering clear. I do not have him designated as a bounce back. At this point of his career, he's a fading star. So I'm just I don't want that, especially with that much draft capital behind it. I can't justify that.
I think he bounces back to, again, a point where it's really going to push Puka out of his high ADP, making Puka a bust. That's where I think he's good enough to dilute that target share and really ruin Puka. So that's why I'm kind of fading Puka. I'm fading Kupp. It's just a disaster there. I don't know who to trust there, okay? Again,
and Puka is also probably a bit of regression. I mean, again, he had the greatest rookie season of any wide receiver in NFL history. He's probably coming off of that. He's probably going to decline off of that. So,
Hey, how do you top that? It's just very, very hard to top, right?
Right.
And Kyron Williams is going to be on the show. Why don't we have a talk with him about this? I'm going to ask Kyron about this. Okay. He'll be on the show soon. Deontay, I don't know how much information he can divulge, but it'd be interesting. Next guy is your guy, Deontay Johnson. I mean, a lot of hype with him, but I don't know. Leggett could be the one. He was a 1st round pick here. Got Thielen there. Round 6 ADP, Deontay Johnson bouncing back to what? I mean, he's kind of been known for brick for hands as well. I'm not really a Deontay guy, although I do see some appeal here in a Bryce Young bounce back year. 100% improved O-line. Deontay is going to get fed. Remember, you guys are forgetting Bryce Young was a top prospect at a college, 1st overall pick last year, just in a terrible situation. So Deontay, what are your thoughts here? Bouncing back to what? To kind of wide receiver top 15 status type thing?
Yeah, I think he's going to be a wide receiver 2 this year, and I like him because he's one of the cheapest wide receiver ones that are available. I'm not concerned about Thielen, as Thielen is 33 years old this year or something
Yeah.
like that. That's not a concern at all for me. And Xavier Legette, I don't like his profile. This is a dude that first of all, spent 5 years in college,
Yep.
did nothing for years 1 through 4, absolutely nothing.
But he
And then
finally wowed it. Finally.
finally in his 5th season, when he's like in his 20s, and he's playing against teenagers, is finally able to dominate. That is not a recipe for success in the NFL. And I think he was overdrafted. I can't believe he was drafted in the 1st round. I am not a believer in Legette. So who's left? It's Deontay Johnson that's left. And Deontay Johnson has been able to show what he can do. He is a good receiver, and he was in a bad situation last year with a really bad quarterback. That sucks. This is a fresh start for him. He's still in his prime. He's only 27 years old. 2 seasons ago, he had 154 targets in Pittsburgh, 154.
Yeah.
So, I think that if he is the one on this team and this team improves its overall offensive capability and they win, I don't know, 5, 6, 7 games, you're going to see some real nice stats coming out of
Deontay Johnson.
where I want to have on this team. So.
Yeah, I like the process of elimination there, Jim. Honestly, the process of elimination where you're saying, well, Deontay Johnson, by default, based on the age of Thielen, based on, Legette, we don't know what to expect. Deontay Johnson could be solid. All right, my next guy here is Jonathan Taylor, man. Jonathan Taylor. This one's an interesting one, Jim. I'm not sure what you think about this one, but I don't know what to make out of Jonathan Taylor. He hasn't really done anything for years. Injuries, now he's got a rushing quarterback, and I don't know, man. I'm really torn, and he's very expensive, round 1 to 2 ADP. You talked about this in another show. We're basically, if we want to draft him, we're drafting him kind of at his ceiling. Like, we're assuming he's going to get back to the way he was, 3 years ago when he had that big year. I don't know. Again, minimal committee. There's no committee there. But again, you got that rushing quarterback. Jonathan Taylor is just that weird character this year for fantasy where I'm just like, I have too many question marks to feel warm and fuzzy drafting. I feel more comfortable with Saquon because I know I'm getting a good offense. I know I'm getting a quarterback. We kind of know what to expect out of Hurts. We don't know. What if Anthony Richardson, because we saw him in a 3-game window, he had 4 rushing touchdowns. What if Anthony Richardson rushes for 25 rushing touchdowns, and Taylor gets hurt week 2 based on what we've seen? I don't know, man. Jonathan Taylor, bounce back, yes, but bounce back to where he was in his pinnacle years ago, probably not. Jonathan Taylor, what are your thoughts on JT?
I gotta say, man, I'm just not in on Jonathan Taylor this year at all. I mean, he has missed so much time and dealt with so many injuries. He hasn't been good in 3 seasons now.
Yeah.
And now we added in Anthony Richardson, who I think is going to take all the goal line work. So I'm like, okay, what are we really getting here if we draft Jonathan Taylor? So I'm not sure. I'm not sure that you just look at what he's done over the past 2 years. It just has not been that great.
No.
And so I'm just not seeing how somehow he's going to be better this season with Anthony Richardson taking all the goal line work. I'm just not seeing it. Please help me, because I'm not interested,
So again, it'd be a slight bounce back. If he plays a full season, yes, he's bouncing back. Will he bounce back to the numbers where he's going to have 15, 16 rushing touchdowns? I doubt it. Again, he's going to be hindered by the goal line. So Taylor, it'd be an interesting bounce back candidate, though. Again, we're talking bounce back candidates. He's an interesting one for sure. Your next guy here, Pat Freiermuth, round 9 ADP. He's coming on the show. He's going to be not on the show, but he's going to be at the Fantasy Sports Summit. You guys get your tickets below. Pat Freiermuth, what do you think on good old Pat?
I love Pat Freiermuth this year. I got to say now we got to look at the offensive scheme that's going to be happening on this team, and with Kirk Cousins coming in, it's going to be much more pass heavy. I already love Drake London. I think he's going to be great, but we're looking at a really nice bounce back year for Pat Freiermuth. Again, saddled on a team with a terrible quarterback last year. He really regressed last year, which was unfortunate. But I can see him maybe pulling off his ceiling. Maybe he could do what like TJ Hawkinson was able to do with the Vikings with Kirk Cousins. He is clearly one of the most talented receivers on this team, probably the wide receiver 2 behind George Pickens. So it's a contract year for him. There is every reason to believe that he's going to bounce back extremely strongly this year.
Yeah. I like him. I think he's gonna be safe. The question is, are they gonna bring in another wide receiver? They keep all this like talk about like, Pickens might not still be the one. If Pickens is the one, it stays the way that it is. Pat is in line for a ton of volume. I was hearing rumblings in the offseason that he's ready to step up his game. I'm ready to talk to him August 21st to kind of see how he's feeling this year. Be interesting to see. But the talent is there, the opportunity is there. Is he going to be over the moon exciting this year's Laporta? Not necessarily. No, I don't think he has that type of ceiling. But I think he's a good player and he's going to be efficient. So yes, it'd be good.
And a good value too at where he's going on the draft board, because he's going outside the top 12 tight ends. I think he has 100 target, probably going to get around 100 targets. 2 seasons ago, he ended up with 63 receptions and 732 receiving yards with 2 touchdowns. I don't see there's any reason why he couldn't go back to that with Kirk Cousins.
Yeah, I'm trying to find a video for our next guy here. Nick Chubb. Now, again, am I saying he's going to bounce back? Not necessarily, but there was a video. He was squatting. I don't know what he was doing here. It was like, here it is. Nick Chubb back.
Oh, I saw it. Where he's squatting like 575 pounds.
So, how much was the weight? Does it say how much the weight was here? It's a lot of weight. Like the bar is bending, Jim. Like
yes.
It's a little blurry here. You can kind of see, but look at him. I mean, this is after what, 9 months removed, 9 months removed from that surgery. Not even, I don't think it's been a full year. So the guy is out there showing heart. The guy is a beast. He's a monster, but it does squatting that prove that he could run routes and stop and go and shift and take the hits. Like, it's like, okay, I could lift, I'm curling 50 pound dumbbells, but does that mean I could sink 3-pointers on a basketball court? Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's one thing to be strong, which is a good sign, but how is that going to convert when you're actually running full speed in the NFL? That's a big concern to me. Will he bounce back? I think he'll have a good season. I think he's safe. I mean, his value is great, Jim. Around 9 to 10 for an RB1, but there's something telling me, no, don't do it. Don't do it.
Nick Chubb is a great talent, right? But that was a devastating knee injury that he suffered last year. I don't like to draft running backs coming off a season-ending knee injury to begin with, because they tend to underperform. Like last year, Javonte Williams really underperformed. Breece Hall had very much a slow start as he was coming back, and this is what he's showing there is like straight line strength, but what's his lateral movement like? And that's really where the true test comes from. Like, can he cut? Like, how well can he cut? And does he really trust that knee to push off on it? And I am just, like I said, I just don't like to draft running backs coming off a major knee injury. So I'm kind of out on him. He's 28 this year. I'd be much more inclined to grab Jerome Ford. Jerome Ford did really good in his place last year, was very solid, and is also very cheap on the draft board. So that's kind of where I am with this whole backfield, because I want to see him succeed. I want to see him come back, but I'm not sure at his age with that kind of knee injury if that's going to be in the cards.
Yeah, no Browns for me this year. If I'm not getting Nick Chubb, I'm not getting anybody behind him. I don't see the ceiling for any of these players. And I think we've genuinely seen the best we've seen out of Nick Chubb. I don't think that Nick Chubb's going to come out this year, razzle and dazzle us and finish as a top 5 running back. I just don't see it. Like, I think, again, we've seen the best of Nick Chubb. I think we've seen the best of Jonathan Taylor we were talking about earlier. But I still think there's more to be had with Saquon, simply because of the offense that he was on and the offense that he's going into. I think we've seen the best of Cooper Kupp, but some of these guys are going, and I think we've seen the best of Travis Kelce for that matter. Jamar Chase, I think there's more ceiling to be had as well. But again, most of these guys are going to bounce back, but are they going to bounce back to the form of their pinnacle years? No chance. I don't see that happening. Maybe Barkley, maybe Kelce has another good year. Jamar Chase could. The guys talking, Pat Freiermuth could have a good year. And Deontay, something could happen there. But again, that's kind of questionable. So Yeah, man, it's going to be interesting to see how this all plays out. Bounce back candidates, let us know, guys. Smash, tap it, slap it. Let us know below which guy do you think is going to bounce back this year. Any of these guys, what do you guys think? Want to get everybody to interact here, all right? That's it, Jim. Hope you guys enjoyed the show.
Thank you, counselor. Good luck out there, everybody.
We'll keep the content rolling for you guys. Smash, tap it, slap it. We'll see you guys in the next video. Forever.